What is up, everybody? This is Anthony with VR365. What is going on? Today is March 31st. Oh my God, I just remembered something about today being March 31st. Damn it. I've got to make... So, on the first of every month, I do like the games of March, the games of February, the games of January. You know, I try to do that on the first day of every month, right? Tomorrow is April 1st, which of course is a day that you want to just stay off the internet entirely. April Fool's Day is always a nightmare day to be on the internet. But for me, I've got to do the games of April. I've got to do the games of April before tomorrow. And there are a lot of games coming in April. It's going to take me a while to do it. It's going to be, man, I got to do that after this show is over. I got to remember. But yeah. Today is March 31st. It is 11:37 a.m. right now, and this is VR365 Live. This is our Sunday Funday episode. It's episode 136 of the show. I'm looking around for my cat, and my cat is in here, but she's hiding in the corner right now. One of the reasons why you guys may have saw my cat if you watched VR Roundtable earlier today is we are babysitting another dog. And so we have another dog that is in the main part of our house, and my cat does not like it when there are visiting dogs coming over here. If we're watching somebody's dog, she totally freaks out. And so she's basically been camping out in this room for the last 2 days because of this other dog. And so that's why you saw my cat. If you watched the VR Roundtable episode that was on earlier today, and I highly recommend checking out our VR Roundtable episode. If you haven't seen that after you watch this stream, be sure to bounce over to VR Roundtable's YouTube channel. You can check out our episode earlier today. We went well over 2 hours, a whole bunch of Valve Index talk. We talked about the new Oculus Quest games that we kind of heard about earlier this week. We talked about what else was going on. State of Play, the PlayStation VR, explosion of games, No Man's Sky. We talked about Palmer Luckey saying the Rift S is not for me and it's not for you either. You know, we talked about all of these different topics. So a lot of good stuff that was on VR Roundtable earlier today. So if you didn't check that out, be sure to check that out after you watch this stream. Okay, so what am I going to get into here today? One of the things I'll say is I got nothing. No, actually, what I was thinking about is I have nothing to talk about. Oh my God, this sucks. What am I going to do? I don't have any stories prepared, etc., etc. But you know what I remembered? There's 2 different experiences that I tried last night in preparation for today's VR Roundtable episode. 2 different games, one is a experience/game, the other one is a game. And I tried them very specifically because I thought we'd be talking about it on VR Roundtable, so I better do my due diligence. I better try these things out. But we ran out of time. We didn't get to these on VR Roundtable today. And so I guess I'll talk about them here because I need something to talk about, right? So we can go ahead and do that. So one of the experiences, let's go over here to the Webby browser. And let's go ahead and switch over here. And one of the experiences that I did get to try in preparation for our VR Roundtable episode is this thing right here. It is called Raid on the Ruhr. Raid on the Ruhr. Ruhr. So that is this experience right here. It is a $6 deal. This is by Immersive VR Education. And you might be familiar with these guys. Like if I click on this developer here, they are responsible for Titanic VR. They also kind of did some stuff on Apollo 11 as well. And so these guys have some experience with this. They are Immersive VR Education Limited, and they've kind of been doing this stuff where they're kind of looking at combining education along with making it exciting and fun and interesting at the same time. I did experience that last night, and so I can talk about this. But before I get into this, I thought, why don't we watch the trailer for it real quick? Let's check out the trailer, and then we'll come back and I can talk about this experience real quick. And then I've got another one as well, so we can get into this real quick. So switching back over to our standard scene here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pump up the volume on this Oculus trailer for Oculus Touch, and we'll check out the trailer for Raid on the Ruhr. Okay, so let me go ahead and pump the volume on this. Let me grab it. Raid on the Ruhr.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields. We shall never surrender.
Enemy 109, English on the fourth
Okay, that is Raid on the Ruhr. That is the trailer for Raid on the Ruhr, and this did release on March 28th. I tried this out, and you know, I wasn't too blown away by it. Okay, first of all, this is $6, and I probably would like Titanic more and also Apollo 11 more than I liked this. But there were some interesting things that they did with this. First of all, when you get into this experience, there is a mode that you can go into that is just cinematic mode, where you're not doing anything and you're basically having a tailor-made experience where they're kind of telling you the story, and you're in the cockpit of the plane, and you start off there and you're with the pilot and they're talking about what they got to do, and then you switch to some of the different viewpoints, you switch to some of the gunner viewpoints, and basically they're on this mission where they want to bomb a dam in Germany, and they want to cause major problems to the supply chain of getting raw materials to the German war machine to create like more tanks and all these kinds of things, right? And so they had this major air raid that happened, and I think there was like something like 158 planes or whatever were pretty much sent on this raid, and 53 people or something, 50 something people ended up dying. They did not return. So a lot of people lost their lives in this operation that was by the British, basically to do major damage on this supply chain, on the dam that was on the river. And so if you go into the cinematic portion of this, you're kind of just sitting there or standing, you know, if you're standing up, or you're sitting in your chair, and you're just kind of going through the cinematic version of this, which is kind of cool. Okay, but what else they do here is they actually give you an opportunity to man the guns and to fly the plane itself and to actually control the steering and fly the plane. And it was kind of interesting what they did there. And they give you a couple of different options. In one of them, you're actually flying the plane and you're doing the entire thing. In another one, you're just kind of the gunner and you're just kind of moving this thing up and down. Kind of reminds me of like Millennium Falcon. You know, the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars, when they go to their gunner things and they're shooting the TIE fighters. You're kind of doing that at one point in this game. And, you know, they drop the bomb, and it's kind of this bouncing bomb. It was this new technology that created, where they created this bouncing bomb that would bounce and bounce and bounce, and then it would explode. And that's what they used to cause major damage to the dam and disrupt the entire supply chain, back in, this is World War II, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is World War II, but it's Raid on the Ruhr. Let's go ahead and go back over to the web page for this, and let's see here. For PC and VR, time to blow up some dams. Fly and shoot your way through the rivers of the Ruhr Valley while reliving the incredible feat of daring, brilliance, and skill. And yeah, in May 1943, the RAF's Bomber Command began the formation of a new squadron, codenamed Squadron X. A team of bomber and night fighter veterans was assembled from every part of the Commonwealth to deliver a very special payload, the brainchild of inventor Barnes Wallace. And you know, one of the other things they do here too is like actually this screenshot right here. You're in a film room, okay, and you got a guy that's sitting over in the corner and he's reading a newspaper. Then you got that lady there and she's pointing at different places on the map and kind of moving around. But you can watch this old black and white movie that plays on the screen there, and it's kind of a nice little setup because you're looking around the room, you're looking around at everything, that guy's over there moving around, she's doing something, and then you got video on the screen. And one thing that does work pretty well in VR is whenever we're showing old television type stuff on screens in VR, it works great, man. We've seen this with Duck Season. When you have like an old 4:3 TV and you put some video on it, it looks really like it's done well. And it's also done well in this, but it's very brief. There's not a lot that goes on here. Let's see what some of the other screenshots are. Yeah, so you're in this cockpit here. You're flying a plane, and you got to keep your plane down low. And you got to fly very close to the river, and you're actually flying under these bridges. And it does have like flight control, you know, where you push up to go down, down to go up type of thing. So you got to kind of wrap your head around that. That's the dam that you try to explode at the very end of that. It's not a bad experience. It's okay. Graphically, it's not tremendously impressive. I did get a little bit of minor motion sickness. I mean, not motion sickness, but just a little bit of queasiness, basically, because you're looking out the window. The plane is like banking and doing different things, and a little bit of queasiness, but for the most part, I was okay. There's lots of anti-aircraft fire that is going into the air. You got to kind of avoid that. You get sprayed with bullets every once in a while. It's kind of got this nighttime thing that's going on, and you get some different viewpoints. Not too bad. It's not bad at all. You know, for $6, not terrible. I do think though that this is something that if you were to pay the money for this and get this, you'd probably screw around with this for like an hour or two, and then you'd probably never visit it again. So it's kind of one of those things. I don't know that I would put it up there with the Titanic or Apollo 11. In fact, I definitely wouldn't put it up there with those. But I enjoyed it. I did, you know, we got a free key. This was provided to VR Roundtable. I didn't fork over my own $6. But if you like educational stuff, if you like stuff where they're kind of mixing VR with education and also entertainment, if you're doing a report on something, you know, related to World War II, I can tell you this: if you have a class of students that is like studying World War II and some of the things that went on in World War II, I think you put them in an experience like this, I think you're more apt to remember a lot of the details of what happened in this experience when you get in there and you feel it in VR. So not too terrible. That is Raid on the Ruhr. Not too bad. Okay, now another experience that I was able to try last night in preparation of the VR Roundtable episode today. Another experience I tried, Stupid Cupid. Okay, Stupid Cupid. This is developed by Shadow Factory. This released back on March 13th. It's been out for a little while. And, you know, I think this is priced, same exact price as Raid on the Ruhr. This is $5.99, so this is $6. Why don't we check out the trailer for this real quick, and then I can come back and talk about it a little bit. So let's go ahead and bounce back over here and I'm going to pump the volume on right on the Ruhr, and we're going to go ahead and check out Stupid Cupid trailer real quick here. So let's get ready. All right, well, that is Stupid Cupid. That is the trailer for Stupid Cupid. Again, we did get a free code for this. Again, VR Roundtable did receive a free code for this, so do understand that. I did not pay the $6 to get my hands on Stupid Cupid. Now, one of the things I'll say about this, there's some interesting things that are going on in Stupid Cupid. To begin with, the graphics. The graphics actually look pretty damn good. Like, you're seeing these graphics in this trailer. That's pretty much exactly what it looks like in the headset. And I feel like the graphics, like when I was in there and I was experiencing this, I felt, you know what I was reminded of? I was reminded of like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Like, you know those old stop motion cartoons that they did like in the 70s or 60s, or I don't know when they actually made like Rudolph and all those different type of cartoons that they would have. I felt like I was in one of those kind of stop motion cartoons. Just the way the graphics, everything looked. I was actually kind of impressed with what I saw here. One of the other things I noticed though is like screen door. Like, you really notice screen door. This would be a great game to play, to do an A and B comparison between like the original Samsung Odyssey and the Samsung Odyssey Plus, because the way the graphics are in this game, something about it like really makes screen door incredibly obvious. And so I think this would be a great game to use to judge how bad the screen door is in a number of different headsets, because it's really obvious. It's kind of like Lucky's Tale. Like, I feel like Lucky's Tale is another game where you can really see screen door. It's as plain as day. And so if you're trying to figure out whether a headset does really good with screen door or doesn't do really good with screen door, this is great demo material to try to check that out. Now, what are you doing in this game? Okay, it's a bow game. And the bow mechanics work pretty well. And one of the things I liked with the bow mechanics in this game is the Oculus Touch controllers. I was playing this on my Oculus Rift, and when you're pulling back the bow, they did a really good job, I think, with the rumble, like the rumble that's in the Oculus Touch controllers. Like, as I was pulling back my bow and letting go of the arrows, that felt good to me. It felt very good to me in this game. Graphics were pretty good. Kind of has that look of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Kind of has that appeal to it. Now, the actual gameplay of it, basically what you're doing is there's all these animals that are kind of running around, and you're Cupid, and so you shoot your arrow at an animal, and what it does is it creates like this love thing. And then, so what you want to do is you want to find two animals that are relatively close together, and you shoot your arrow and you hit them with the love thing, and then they immediately come together and they start doing what animals do. And it doesn't matter if it's a deer and a squirrel, or a skunk and some other animal. they come together and they have a lot of fun. And the thing is, you got to be careful though, because if you hit them with too many arrows, then you kind of turn them off and you kind of ruin it. And so there's kind of these different little things that are going on. And so you go through different stages. Now, what did I not like about this? I didn't like the voiceover work very much at all. This is an example of a game where the developer used somebody to do the voice, like somebody on the team did the voice work. I guarantee you they did not get a legitimate voice guy that specializes in this type of thing to do the voices. And it's incredibly obvious. And don't do this. Don't do this, companies. Pay the money. Get somebody that can do some voice work. Don't do this, in my opinion. Get actual legitimate voice talent, because the guy keeps saying stuff, as you're playing it, and I felt that it kind of detracted from the overall experience. Like, it kind of took me out of it. If it was somebody that had the right kind of voice and it was tailor made for it, I think it would have worked a lot better. I didn't play this for tremendously long. There's nothing super compelling about it. Really, the best part of it, I think, is the graphical look of it. It does have a cool look, but other than that, it was kind of like much ado about nothing. So I can't really recommend this one too much. It's not horrible. I've played much, much worse, no question about it. But that is stupid Cupid. We can bounce over to the Steam page real quick and see if there's anything on here. Yeah, we've got one user review, so not a lot of people are talking about this game too much. It says, "Hey Cupid, get back in Venus' good graces in this VR game. Use his bow and arrow to balance the natural order by helping animals mate, or in some cases, culling the overpopulation. Challenge your skills and accuracy in different locations and seasons." So the graphics vary a little bit. They change up a little bit as you go through the different levels. Let's see here. If I click on the screenshots, it's mostly this forest area. They only got 5 screenshots, so they don't got a lot going on. I did kind of like the look of the game. I was disappointed, though. To the best of my knowledge, there's no actual locomotion. Like, you pretty much you're stuck in one spot and then you're just shooting stuff. You don't actually move through the world and then shoot stuff at the same time. I was a little bit disappointed in that, but maybe I just didn't get far enough in it or didn't see some of the extra stuff that was with it. But that is stupid Cupid. It is okay. Okay, let's see. What else do we want to get into today? Well, let me go ahead and see what people are talking about in chat. Recycled says, "I like Screen Door." Wait, let me find that. I just expanded this. Okay, let's see here. Recycled says, "I like Screen Door. The pixels are more distinct." And you know what's funny about that? That kind of reminds me of, I was a retro gamer before I got into VR. I've always been a modern gamer and I've always played modern games, but I kind of got disillusioned with like Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Like, I got those systems right when they came out and I was super excited for this new generation. But like, I was looking at all the games and I'm like, all it is prettier graphics. There's nothing going on here. I got disillusioned with modern gaming and I got really hardcore into retro gaming. Then I discovered VR and I got really into VR. But when I was into retro gaming, it's weird because as a hardcore retro gamer, you kind of like the pixelated look. You kind of like to see all the little flaws and all the little problems that are going on there. And I would play my retro games on an RGB monitor. In fact, it's right here. It's a Sony, this is a Sony PVM 20Ms, whatever. It's like a medical monitor by Sony. Incredible, beautiful. Like, if you play Super Mario World or Sonic the Hedgehog or anything like that on this monitor, absolutely drop dead gorgeous. But you see every little imperfection and you see every little pixel. And like, it's funny because some people like to put it on a TV where it smooths everything out and you don't see any of the pixels and stuff. So that's what that kind of reminds me of. Scan lines, bro. Yeah, that's what Recycled's talking about here in terms of like seeing Screen Door. Yeah, I've thought about that. Is like, when they eliminate Screen Door, is it going to be kind of like the TVs that eliminate the pixels and it kind of smooths everything out? And maybe that's part of the reason Steve wasn't totally in love with like the Samsung Odyssey, because it kind of smooths everything out. And I don't know, you kind of want that sharpness. You kind of want that incredible clarity. See, I think what we ultimately want is we want crystal clear sharpness and clarity, but just no screen door as well. So we want it to be sharp, but we don't want to see the individual pixels and the screen door grid that goes on there. But yeah, that's stupid Cupid, and it was very good for noticing that type of stuff. Okay, what else can we get into? Paradise Decay says, I also prefer my VR to be crisp and clear. I always turn all AA off. And Girillo says, but the SD screen door effect is different. It gets in the way, and clarity is really nice and more immersive. Screen door effect is different, but I think maybe some of the anti-screen door effect techniques are actually kind of similar to what a lot of our TVs do to kind of soften the image and kind of make it not look as pixelated, and maybe hide some of the imperfections there. Okay, so what else we can do here is we can go back over. Actually, why don't we go to like Road to VR? Let's check out some of the news sites and see if there's anything going on. And I don't think there's much going on since Friday. Like, this is Upload VR right here, and they're back on March 29th. Like, this is their lead story. Valve teases Index VR headset. We've been talking about Index to death. And I know, we're going to continue to talk about Index, especially anytime like some rumors and stuff come out for it. We'll be talking more about it. And I believe there are a few rumors that have kind of leaked out about this. Gabe and his emails again. I just don't know about those emails, though. I don't know if we can really trust these emails, because somebody could just absolutely fake those emails, and we have no way of knowing whether it's faked or not. Okay, bouncing over here to Road to VR. Let me go ahead and give this a quick refresh. And again, nothing really new is going on here. Valve teases new Index VR headset coming in May, and nothing else new that I can see here. We've pretty much seen all this stuff already. Okay, so what we can do is we can go to the subreddits. Let's see what's going on there. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to the R-Vive subreddit. Of course, there's some new subreddits. We can also check that out. We do have some new subreddits. We have Valve Index is its own new subreddit, and it's kind of gotten hyped up a little bit. But one of the things that is kind of going on that people are talking about is Index and the logo. So we are getting a lot of conjecture out there about what the logo means and what the name means. Okay, so that's the logo right there, Valve Index. And so a lot of people are looking at this and they're trying to figure out, well, what exactly does this mean? And so you can look at that circle there and you can think, maybe that's an eyeball, okay? And then you look at these other two half circles and you think to yourself, well, maybe that eyeball is looking through that half circle and also looking through the other half circle. And so could this be a key to what is going on with the Valve Index? Is it these dual Fresnel lenses, two of them stacked upon each other, which apparently can solve some potential problems related to VR headsets that we're kind of dealing with here? And then we can go to these patent images. This was filed back in March of 2018. And you can see this is Valve Corporation, Bellevue, Washington. This was filed on September 14th, 2017. All right. And so this technology, absolutely, without question, it's very, very possible. In fact, not only is it very possible, it's probably likely that this technology is built into the Valve Index. Now, what are they talking about here? This is going to be a lot of fancy words. We're not going to understand a lot of this, but let me go ahead and break it down anyway. Systems and methods for providing optical systems which utilize double Fresnel lenses on curved surfaces for use with display systems, such as silicon-based micro display systems, OLED micro displays. Okay, OLED confirmed, guys. No LCD here. These are OLED. Nah, we don't know. We don't know for sure, but they do mention OLED in the patent. Used with head-mounted display systems. The optical systems disclosed herein may implement multiplexing or blending to provide a smooth profile transition and reduce aberrations between zones or fields. Example, small FOV angles, large FOV angles of a Fresnel surface which is defined by multiple Fresnel patterns or functions. An optical system for a micro display is provided which utilizes double Fresnel lenses on curved surfaces to shorten the focal length. Okay, are we talking about micro displays, guys? Micro displays. Oh my God, this is going to be incredible. Yeah, we don't really know what's going on here. Again, this patent stuff, okay, I mean, we're seeing what's going on here. You see, okay, this is somebody's head. This, I guess, is supposed to be their eyeballs. That's supposed to be their nose. And so their eyeballs, you can see that it's going through two screens there, mind blown. And this is kind of another example of kind of what's going on with the refraction, the indexing, whatever. Look, I am not an optician or anything like that. So I look at this and it looks pretty. It looks pretty. I don't know much else about it. Okay, there's the two, it's like they're backwards, right? They're not both going the same way there as far as those lenses. But yeah, these were these patent designs. And so if you want to read, you got a lot of pages here. There's 13 pages. You can read a whole bunch of this stuff. You might actually find out some pretty incredible next level things with some of this stuff. But this guy that did this post, he says, but then to take it further, the actual name of the product, the index. If you search the patent, you will find extensive references and discussion of index of refraction, which means measurement of the bending of a ray of light when passing from one medium to another. It kind of nicely ties it all together. Yeah, in a certain way, I got to say that it does. And then a lot of people replying here and saying, hey, somebody else posted this already. You're late, blah, 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 blah. And so this guy here, Sven Viking, says, as explained, I don't have time for a full scoreboard, so I listed the top score. If someone else has time to make out the ordered list, I'll edit it in. Oh, no, wait. This is a different guy. Weenie says, on March 29th, though it doesn't mention dual lenses. March 30th also doesn't mention, this is just getting into semantics of basically who discovered this first. Okay, so everybody's worried about that. So that's something a lot of people are talking about. I'm going to go back to chat right now and see if anybody's talking about what we've just been discussing here just now. Lefty007 says, if they go high resolution screen, there has to be some form of rendering tricks that are going on. Sarin, we haven't seen SAR in a while. He says, I thought about middle finger to the other HMD manufacturers. Yeah, we have had some people talk about that. Other people think it's to do with your index fingers and it's all about like finger tracking. So, I mean, there's a number of theories that are out there on why they're calling this Valve Index. I don't think the name is the most incredible name I've ever heard. Like Steve, we were on VR Roundtable today. Steve said he didn't think the name Index was that bad. I thought the Valve Index, like, that does not roll off your tongue. Like, bro, yeah, check out my index, bro. Just got my index, man. Oh, you got your phone catalog? You just got your index. I don't think the index name is that great. So because of that, I think it has to mean something. I think it's going to mean something. And I think we're going to understand a lot more about it when we get the whole picture of what's going on here. We're going to understand the name index. And then I think the name is going to seem a lot better once we have an understanding of it. Looking at what some of the other folks are saying in chat, Galileo VR. The HMDs might be more expensive than we think if it has this tech. Yeah, that's another thing. We talked about on VR Roundtable today, we talked about pricing, and we kind of, most of the people on the show kind of thought that, they're not going to go beyond like 800, 700, 600. They would be crazy to go off into the wild blue yonder with a really high price point. But at the same time, if they are throwing in some of this technology, which they think is kind of a game changer, I keep going back to this idea that once you release your headset, you're not bringing out a new headset every year. You're just not going to do that. And so when you release a headset, it's an important thing because you're going to be stuck with what you deliver at that time. And I think Valve, they're probably very anxious to try to deliver some key things that they think is really going to improve the VR experience and kind of be a game changer moving forward. I don't know that I would be shocked beyond belief to find out that the Valve Index is $1,199.99 for the full bundle. I don't know that I would be completely blown away by that. So the price may be a bit higher than any of us really think, because you can always come down off that price. But once you release a product into the wild, it's out there and it's stuck and it is what it is and you're going to live with it. Oculus has had to live with the Oculus Quest for all those years. HTC Vive has had to live with the original Vive for as long as they had. Yeah, they did come out with the Vive Pro, but it's kind of one of those things. Okay, let's see. Lefty007 says, maybe once we know what the HMD is all about, we will understand the name fully and then feel it justifies the name. I do believe so. Crunchy says, I think Quest is a better name than Index. Yeah, I think Steve was like, I like Index better than Quest. I wasn't a huge fan of Oculus Quest when I first heard it. In fact, I remember when I first heard Oculus Quest, the first thought that popped into my head is Oculus Go is a better name. Oculus Go, and we could talk about this for a quick second here. Oculus Go is an incredible name, actually. Oculus Go is an amazing name. It's a perfect name. It's the perfect name for what the Quest is. But the problem is they used it on the Go and they couldn't use it again. But I do believe we're going to see eventually a product from Oculus called the Go again, because I think that name is just so perfect. But they ended up going with Quest. I like Quest a hell of a lot better than Index personally. But again, we might find out what's really going on here. Paolo Triani says, at least it wasn't called Eye Cancer VR. Yeah, I'm sure that was up. They were debating, damn, Index or Valve Eye Cancer VR. God damn, this is a tough one. I don't know what we should do. Let's go Index. It's a little bit shorter. It's a little bit snappier. I love Eye Cancer VR, though. That's a great name, but damn it, we're going to go Index. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that's going on here. Let's see. Why don't we check out that new subreddit? Yeah, the new hotness. Let's go ahead and check it out live. So let's see. It's Valve Index, right? Valve Index is this new subreddit. And that's a question we can ask people here. Valve Index, is this going to be your new subreddit? Like, is this where you go now instead of our Vive? Like, is this going to take over? Or is it going to be the Steam VR subreddit? Or is it going to be the R Index subreddit? There's like 20 different subreddits that are floating out there. This is one of them, Valve Index. This guy says, I know why it's called the Index and what the logo represents, but I think that was kind of the same thing that we've already heard. Valve Index will be an HMD people can wear without their glasses. Not sure what that is about. Valve Index Lighthouse sensor count. Let me click on this. I wonder what they're saying here. Like somebody... Oh, okay. Oh, check this out. You want to talk about the detectives out there. These are the detectives. Look at these guys. These guys are out of their mind. Holy moly. Riccatoli. Look at this. Counting all these different sensors all over the damn place. I don't get the bottom ones. I still don't understand. There's bottom ones, there's side ones. This guy went all the hell out. Look at that. There's like 32 sensors all over the damn place. This is crazy. These detectives, man, they will just not stop. And there's people on the inside at Valve that get such a kick off of this. and probably think, oh my God, they got this all wrong. They got that's all wrong. That's not a sensor there. They're seeing things that don't actually exist here. But I mean, if you were to highlight these things and you were to add a lot of brightness and contrast, these things show up a hell of a lot better. Sensors all over the damn place. Kind of crazy. I do feel like we still don't know about the inside out tracking thing here, but I kind of believe that this is a Lighthouse product and there's no inside out tracking. That's my personal thought. Okay, this guy says, sort of a sequel to my last post, but probably less useful. I marked out all the Lighthouse sensors I could see. I couldn't quite make out 11 and 23, so I'm not 100% on those, but I'm leaning toward there being sensors there. I count 32 sensors total, which matches the Vive's count. Wow, I didn't know the Vive had that many sensors on it. Really? 32 of them? That's kind of crazy. Okay, but yeah, this is some of the interesting stuff that we've seen out there. Valve is literally hiding something under their thumbs. Okay, this also goes back to the tweet by Steve Bowler, I believe. The position of the hands holding the HMD in teaser image do not make sense. No one would ever grab a VR headset that way while wearing it or removing it. Once again, the detectives, Sherlock Holmes Jr.'s out there, they show up in mass. 221B Baker Street, baby. They are out in force trying to figure out all the little crazy details. And so this guy's saying no one ever, no human ever would hold a headset quite like that and would grip it. The thumbs are also not in a good spot. Why do hands need to be holding it in the teaser image at all? So this guy is like, I'm going to figure out what's going on here. Now he's saying that others have pointed out the Valve patent on using double Fresnel optics, and the index logo itself looks like two lenses and an eyeball. My guess is that the thumbs are hiding adjustment knobs for the double Fresnel optics, one for each eye. Adjusting the spacing between the double Fresnel lenses might allow users to adjust the distortion profile. Oh my God, folks. Mind blown. So this is an interesting idea. I like this. I like this so much. My thought was they're hiding two little cameras that are tracking your body. That one of the crazy features about the Valve Index is you've got full body tracking, baby. Enter the matrix. Full body tracking is here. But I've never thought of this idea. Actual dials to adjust the way those double Fresnel optics are working so you can dial it in absolutely perfectly to adjust the distortion profile, maximize the sweet spot for each individual person. How freaking badass would that be? That's a really interesting idea. You know, going back to the teaser image here, he's saying no one ever would hold it quite like that. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about that. Like me and MainFam were kind of debating, like, is this like a flimsy rubber thing that you can squeeze in? Like, would they put anything in there if it's like a flimsy part? Or is it a hard plastic where something could be hidden by those thumbs? And of course, you know, going back to Steve Bowler had that tweet. In fact, we can go to the tweet window. Here's the tweet window. And Steve Bowler said, I feel like there's a hint in that Valve Index announcement that just went live. They're trying to show us, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Pretty interesting, man. Could that be? So, you know, we've got some different ideas here. It's just kind of crazy how many different possibilities are out there. And, you know, so many videos can be made about all these crazy things. That's the funny thing. MRTV, are you going to make a video about the dual Fresnel lenses? Like, what are these other YouTubers doing? What videos are they making about all these crazy possibilities? Okay. Oh, I love this. Info dump on April 5th. Hey, I like this. I love thinking about dates and anniversaries. You know all the anniversaries I've talked about, right? Yeah, when is the info dump coming? Because what we've seen so far is a teaser. This is just an absolute teaser letting people know that there's something out there, there's something going on, but a lot more information has to come. We don't know diddly about this for the most part. So info dumps are incoming, especially like Gary, I believe, when I posed this question to him earlier today, are we actually going to be buying this headset? Are we going to be holding this headset in May? Are we going to get it shipped to us? Is this really happening within the next 60 days, which seems unbelievable to me? Gary was like, yes, he thinks it's going to be out. And if it is going to be out in May, then we've got a lot of info that is going to be coming to us in the very near future. April 5th is the 3-year anniversary of the HTC Vive. Now, I know what you're saying. Valve doesn't give a damn about the Vive, but you know what? The Vive was the beginning of Steam VR. The very first day was the first day the lab was there. So it's a 3-year anniversary for Valve as well. We might get an info dump on the 3-year anniversary. I like this guy's thinking. Fragile Duck. I won't raise my expectations a lot, but weren't the HTC Vive and Steam VR released on April 5th? And if that was the case, I think they could accept pre-orders on April 5th and then start shipping in May. Yeah, I don't know about the pre-orders part of it, but interesting possibility. Speculation City, baby. Oh, here's somebody created a Valve Index box concept. People are bananas, man. Look at that. The Index, Valve Index. There's your box. Okay, it's so funny. This is crazy. People are really hyped. It's really cool. What will happen in May? A lot of speculation, of course. That's what will happen in May. Let's see. Let's just click on what people are thinking about in the month of May. I think it's purposely ambiguous. If all goes well, I think May will be for pre-orders. If there is some production issue, it will be a big announcement with an estimate for the pre-order day. The language, at least to me, is that we will have the headsets in May. Yeah, the language kind of does seem like we're actually going to have the headsets in May. It doesn't seem, it does seem kind of like May. So that's May. Okay, so this is the Valve Index, an internet May. Valve Index. Do you guys use this subreddit? Are you subscribed to this subreddit? How many subscribers do they got? So they got, a little over 2,000. So I don't know if this is going to blow up. They definitely need a new look for this part of it. That's for damn sure. That look needs some help right there. Valve Windex. Okay, let's see what folks are talking about in chat. Let's see. Paradise Decay says, at VR365, we need to see if there is a shadow under the thumbs. He's right. I wouldn't hold my headset upside down. I still don't know why there's so many headsets underneath the sensor. And I still want to see like a picture of a regular Vive. Are there really that many? And I kind of want to take a picture of my Oculus Rift, the bottom of it. Are there really a lot of tracking sensors under the headset? That just seems odd to me. Oh, Virtual Chris is available to talk. So call in, bro. I'm going to tell him call in. So Virtually Chris is, because I was talking to Chris earlier today, and one of the things okay, hold on here. Let's go ahead and get him. Hello? Hey, what's up? Okay, let me get you onto the show. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you here. Okay, Chris, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, so everybody in chat, I'd like you to help me out here. If Chris's voice is like way too high or way too low, let me out and we'll help me out, and we will dial his voice in. So Chris, because we have you here, we were talking about some Index rumors. What else am I going to do?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Index all day long. But right after the VR Roundtable episode ended, I was talking to you and I said, man, I'd love to have you on this show if you had time, just because you experienced a lot of stuff at GDC and VR Roundtable, our show was so packed with stuff that we probably couldn't talk to you about everything. And so now I kind of want to elaborate on things. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go back over to my standard scene here, and I'm going to throw on the trailer for Dance Central. And why don't we just talk about Dance Central here for a minute? Because I think it's kind of been buried a little bit. Like, we didn't talk about this too much on today's episode of VR Roundtable. But Dance Central, I mean, this is Harmonix you remember the history of Dance Central. I'm guessing you do. Back in the days when,
Yeah.
Just Dance and everything. And, Harmonix has done so many rhythm-based things. So you were there at GDC, and there was a line and of people to try Quest, to try Beat Saber, and to try Dance Central, and nobody cared about Dance Central. Tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. You keep saying GDC, it's funny, but
Oh man, yeah. I'll
well.
make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, it was weird because I got into the convention hall here, and I like sprinted to Oculus / Facebook. They had like a Facebook gaming side, and they had a separate Oculus booth, and they had this really weird Oculus booth for content creators who were like, it was for like VR YouTubers and stuff. I wasn't invited, but there were other VR YouTubers over there. That was like I guess a show area. But yeah, Dance Central was at the Facebook gaming side, along with one Beat Saber demo, and then there was Dead and Buried running on Rift S and Quest there too. So it was like 4 pods. But I got there pretty early, so I jumped in line there. The line was for Beat Saber / Dance Central, and it's pretty sad because at first I was like, okay, maybe people are like half and half up there, but then I looked and there was no one in the Dance Central side. I'm like, what's going on with that? Everyone just wanted to play Beat Saber, it turns out. So I was like, man, I'd rather play Quest than Beat Saber. I don't care. Like I honestly didn't think I'd get to play Beat Saber. Thankfully, Oculus hooked me up last minute and was like, hey, you can try Beat Saber on Quest. Like, thank you.
Okay, quick question. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you see the trailer here. You're going to be delayed by like 7 or 8 seconds or whatever. You probably want to mute it if you don't have it. But we're seeing the video here of the Dance Central trailer, which I thought was a pretty good trailer. How they show it, they break it down pretty well. Now, the graphics, I got to assume that this is the Rift version of, it's the big boy PCR version that they're using for the graphics for the trailer. But looking at the graphics that you see, like how similar was that to Quest? Because they do use an art style that might be kind of compatible with the Quest,
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. I think it is identical on both. Maybe there's like a little bit more lighting effects on the Rift version, but I mean, looking at the trailer I saw, like that's exactly what it looked like on Quest. So it was pretty impressive. Like, I think there's probably a lot of detail put into, like the person in front of you, especially,
Okay. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to grabbing some little miniature pictures, and I'm going to try to throw them in the folder where I had main fan stuff. Okay, let me try to switch over to this other scene here and see if I got this. Okay, hold on 1 second here.
Sounds good.
Let's see, audio guest slideshow 2. Okay, let's see, add directory. Let's see, we'll go this, select folder. Okay. There we go. Okay, cool. That way I got you on there. So it says Virtually Chris. And let me go ahead and move my screen here a little bit. Okay. So you're saying that I'm sorry, I was kind of busy doing that when you were talking the last time. So you basically are saying that graphically you think it was almost identical.
Oh yeah, like it's pretty impressive. That's where, me trying Quest, I kept being like, wow, these look like, everything looked like a PC VR title. It was crazy, especially Beat Saber, but I mean Dance Central as well. Like what the graphics they can get out of this thing is pretty impressive,
Yeah. And do you think people might be like just Dance Central in general, like not talking about Quest or Rift S or anything? Do you think people might be underestimating this game? Because see, the thing is, we got to remember that this dancing stuff, it got big because we had motion controllers back then. We had the Wiimotes. We had Nintendo Wii, and then you had PlayStation Move, and you had Xbox Connect, and that's how all that stuff happened. And then that whole entire thing died, and nobody cared about motion controllers anymore or any of that stuff anymore for a number of years. But VR has kind of given new life to this. And so these dancing things, I think they could come back in a major way. I think Dance Central could be a really big deal. I think people are like downplaying this.
Me too. Yeah, that's why I was so like dumbfounded that no one wanted to play this game because, I mean, it's polished to hell. You know, Harmonix does a great job with that, and it just feels so cool in VR. Like you look totally stupid playing this game, but it's cool. Like you feel like you're exactly mirroring what they're doing, and you get a bunch of points if you do that right. I think this game highly relies on there being casting on Quest when it launches. Like if you can't see this on a TV, it's gonna be rough, but if you can, like, it's definitely a fun party game. Like I said, like if it's $10 or something, that's like probably an instant buy. Just how fun it is.
You're not going to see $10. This has got to be $24.99 or something. Because of the licenses for the songs and everything too.
It's true, yeah. It's not Beat Saber songs. These are all like every single song on there is well known, which hopefully will help it. I think.
But the other thing too is like you might not be a very good dancer, but like if you start being trained how to do something in VR, you can actually get better, I would think, right?
Oh yeah, like in the course of one song, they do. I guess it was maybe an easy song, like the songs they had were pretty easy, but they did the same move over and over again for every chorus, so you start to like get it down. I felt like I was starting to dance pretty well towards the end of that.
Crunchy in chat says, how is the game tracking your legs, or is it not and just shows how you move your legs for the dance? I have not played any dance game since Connect.
Yeah, no, it doesn't track legs at all. Like I know in the trailer, it's the girls doing the leg stuff, but it's really mostly arms. I mean, thank goodness Quest tracking's good, because even if your arms are fully extended out in like a T pose, it's still tracking them because it's that good. But yeah, it doesn't track feet. I'm sure it, like, if there's like a duck or something, it'll know that you ducked your head at least. But you end up just doing the feet thing naturally because you're looking at this person and you're like trying to mimic what they do. It feels like it's like a mirror of you once you get good enough at it. So the feet thing kind of just happens.
Yeah, and here's the good news as well, Chris. With the Valve Index, it will be tracking our legs. It'll actually have the tracking for that. Okay, so that's Dance Central. I know you said you tried 3 quests. Oh, you tried Journey of the Gods, right?
Yeah. Is that what it's called? I don't know.
Yeah, it's Journey, because there's Shadow Point, and then there's Journey of the Gods. Now, Shadow Point is a puzzler, and Journey of the Gods is like it's kind of like a Zelda-ish game. So
yeah. Okay, so then I said what it is. That game was fun. Did you play that one at GDC?
No, you know what sucks, man? If I was there an extra day, I got boned. Okay, I'm putting on the Journey of the Gods trailer now. I should have been at GDC Wednesday and Thursday. It would have been so much better. I would have tried the HP Reverb. I would have tried Magic Leap. Lots of stuff. It's water under the bridge now. But okay, so Journey of the Gods, I have it on the screen right now. It's going to be delayed a little bit for you there. But so you saw this in headset, and one of the things, like, we're looking at the video here, and I will admit, like, objectively, you look at the video, it's not graphically stunning when you just look at this video here, but it's a difference when you get the headset on and you're in that world, and it's the vibrancy of the OLED screen and all of that. It kind of comes together pretty nicely. What were your thoughts when you played this?
Oh yeah, like the OLED. This is perfect for the OLED screen. I really liked that. This game, like all the Quest titles, just feels really, really polished. It was kind of a mini demo where they tutorial like the sword and shield, and then they let you switch to the crossbow and try that out. And then you go into this kind of like open area where you fight that boss that you see in the trailer, the one that looks like a big tentacle coming out of the ground. Like that's what I played. So that involves crossbowing the face where when it opens its mouth, and then after you did all that, you have to go sword and shield on the like parts that grow out of the ground next to it. So it's cool that they have this kind of unique gameplay. Also, trying out the God mode thing, I couldn't tell like how useful it is yet. I'm sure it'll be in the game, like used for puzzles and stuff. But in this demo, it's more like, hey, you can grow a tree. I'm like, okay, I'll grow a tree and then go back into normal view. But I like how they played with different scales there. Um,
One of my worries about Quest, like one of the things that I am slightly worried about with the Oculus Quest is that you're going to be in a lot of different game experiences and see, well, maybe it's just going to be me that's going to notice this, but I feel like I'm going to be noticing the enemy counts, like how many enemies are on screen simultaneously. And I'm
yeah.
going to notice that it's very carefully managed, how many different, and hopefully that's something like I'll forget about that and I'll just enjoy the experience. But like if we're playing Robo Recall or some of the games that are being downported, to the Oculus Quest, and it's like, oh, normally there'd be like 25 robots and now there's 7 of them. Is it going to jump out at me and is it going to bother me? Do you, in the time that you had with it, any sense of, is that going to affect anything, or you think you'll forget about it quick enough?
I hope you'll forget about it. In this game, everything feels very like deliberate. Like every enemy placement felt like it was there for a reason. I think Robo Recall is kind of different. Like if that only has a few robots, we'll be pretty disappointed. But in a thing like this, it's I guess less of a big deal. It's weird though, because like this is the most simplistic art style. Like this one could probably have the most enemies out of anything, just based on the graphics of it. But yeah, I really liked just how it felt. Like they did a really cool thing with the sword, which I haven't seen done before. I'm kind of upset my friend got to play Asgard's Wrath, but I didn't. That would have been cool to try out as well. But in this game with the sword, once you get it up to like a certain momentum, you feel the vibration on your controller. So it really does feel like you're slicing through things more than any other sword game I've felt, where you just kind of wave it back and forth really quick and kill something. That's just something cool that I think they did well. Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun game. I could see it getting maybe shadowed by some of the other launch titles. Probably especially Beat Saber. Everyone's just gonna play that right out of the gate.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully it's longer. Hopefully it has like a decent narrative to it.
Speaking of Beat Saber, I went ahead and threw that trailer on real quick, although this is not the Oculus Quest trailer of it. This is just a regular Beat Saber trailer. But I experienced Beat Saber as well. You experienced it on the Quest. If you were, like, if somebody said, Chris, what percentage of the experience got translated here? Are we looking at 85%, 95, 75% of the experience of Beat Saber? Like, how close do you think they got it?
I'd say like 95%. What would you say?
I'd say like 90, somewhere around there.
Yeah, like the only thing I notice is like, okay, there's a little bit less particles maybe when you hit one of the notes, and then also probably the walls are the biggest giveaway that you're doing the Quest version, because on the PC they're like transparent and have this cool shader to them. On Quest they're more solid, and who cares though? Like it's basically Beat Saber,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think like some of the stuff that's going on like in the backgrounds might not be as elaborate. But yeah, I agree. And I think when you're in the actual process of Beat Saber and you're just trying to like play the game and you're trying to get a good score, like all that other stuff goes out the window. So I think having like 90% of that experience shine through is awesome. And like playability wise, I mean, you can tell me what you thought, but I felt like, because I played that song Escape, which is kind of the song I normally play on Beat Saber a lot. I'm familiar with it. And it was like flawless. Like it seemed exactly the same. I didn't feel any kind of a difference really.
Yeah, I played Pop Stars. I've been playing that one on my normal Beat Saber back at home quite a bit. And, like you said, like totally identical. This is going to be amazing for bringing it anywhere, because, everyone loves Beat Saber. And this is just so easy to set up. I would imagine, put on Pass Through Plus, like boom, boom, set up Guardian in a few seconds, then you're in. Like, you can't beat that.
Yeah, it sucks that you did not get to see what do you call it? The pass through, because it
I'm
is
so
so
jealous
cool.
of my friend, man.
Oh man, yeah. Because the first time I saw it, it was by accident as well. Like my very first experience with any of the new hardware was at GDC, and it was actually the Quest. I got to try the Quest first, and they put it on my head. And she put it on my head, and it was in pass-through mode. And I'm seeing the lady stand in front of me, and she's like handing me controller, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, whoa, what is this shit? They got some crazy like AR mode that I never knew about. It's like, whoa, it's black and white, because everything was in black and white, but there was color. Like you could see the floor, like they had these like little triangle things like to set the. See, what they do is like when they're putting you in a Quest thing, you can quickly set the height of your floor, and you can quickly set like your guardian boundaries, and then that's kind of what you do when you're in pass-through mode. But you could also see, look, am I going to step on my cat? And the stereo, like the stereo thing, I think is where the real game changer is, because it's not going to be this awkward, weird view that's going to make you feel kind of weird. Like you're really going to see your room kind of as it is.
Yeah, that's huge. Like I know I kept, but this was like the very last demo that he got that lucky. Like otherwise I would have tried to make that happen by quitting the app or something. But I kept every demo I had of Rift S and Quest, I tried to like hold down the Oculus button, see if I could see Pass Through Plus, but it was just never there. It was just the app saying like resume or quit, and that was it. So I was pretty sad, but that's gonna be huge. I'm excited for that, definitely.
So, just generally at GDC in general, what were your thoughts on so when did you go? You went Thursday?
Yeah, I went to PAX on Thursday, so it was the first day. Usually is the least busy day. Still way too busy in my opinion, but
yeah,
it's probably the least busy day.
It's probably even worse than GDC from that standpoint,
Yeah. Oh, it's a chaos, but I only was really there to see Oculus, so I had like a set place to go. I mean, there's so much stuff there. I got to play the bird game too. What is it? Like the one that starts with F?
Oh, Falcon Age? Falcon Age?
No, the one that you did a Let's Play on the other day, the like Pixel Voxel.
Oh,
relaxing one.
Fugle.
Yeah, I talked to one of the developers of that there, so that was cool.
Dude, is that
nice.
one of the most magical worlds you've ever seen? I think it is. I mean, the
gosh,
voxels.
Yeah. I mean, that thing's so cool. And I don't know if on the release version they have this, but he like showed me all the different biomes and stuff, and eventually be able to like hot swap what biome you're in. So that was super neat.
Yeah, I haven't seen, like, maybe there is an option for that, and I just don't know how to access it. But yeah, my little Let's Play of that, the one thing I was saying is I wish they could kind of gamify it a little more.
Oh, yeah,
it's kind of just
really
like a
good.
chill out thing, but they should, like, add some Pilot Wings type stuff to it, I think it'd work well. But what I was going to say is, so in regards to, like, all the VR that was there at GDC, what was the longest lines to, like, what was the biggest hype for, like, the longest line you would have to wait in? Was it like Rift S demo? Was that the longest line there?
I had to say, yeah, it was, I guess it was kind of weird because no one really knew what the line was for. It was just kind of the line to get into the Oculus booth. But if you actually looked in the Oculus booth, turns out the Quest line's really tiny and most people were waiting for the Rift S. I feel like it was really badly managed though, because each Rift S demo took like 10 to 15 minutes. And also there was like 5 minutes where no one was in there because you had to fill out a survey on an iPad after.
Yeah.
So like no one was in the headset then. So like you could see outside the booth looking in all these people just like playing for 10 minutes, and then you just see no one playing for 10 minutes. And you're like, oh my gosh, I should be able to go in there. There was only like 4 demo areas set up. So it was kind of rough. It was really slow. I'd imagine must be awful for people who are there like today or Saturday. Like,
yeah, one thing about the Rift S, like, I mean, you talked about it on our show earlier today, but of course, we're pressed for time, so like you couldn't like spend a lot of time talking about it. But is that the most comfortable headset you've ever worn?
It's so nice. Everything is so good about it. I feel like all the trade-offs were so over, everyone's like, wow, this sucks, but you don't notice 80 hertz. I think the screen is phenomenal. Like I'm done with OLED until they can get RGB subpixels, you know, like LCD is the future in my eyes right now. And then, like, the tracking was perfect. I think the controllers feel better than the current touch controllers. There's something about them, they feel a little more ergonomic in the hand. Um, to me, it was like a big upgrade, especially considering I don't have to update my GPU. You know, I can keep my 980 a little bit longer and still have a headset that feels semi next gen. So that's super exciting for me, and I'm sure that's like gonna please a lot of people if they're gonna go for Rift S. Like, it feels so much more high resolution than it really is. You know?
You know, a question. So I remember, like, my memories of using the Rift S at GDC is that the face gasket was foam, but I also remember, like, the forehead part being foam and also the back part being foam. Although when you look at, like, the video and you look at the pictures and stuff, it looks like the forehead part and the back of your head part isn't actually foam, but I remember it being foam. And one of the things, and it was comfortable as hell, like the most comfortable thing I've ever put on my head. Even, like, I've always sworn by PlayStation VR being very nice, very comfortable. This is even more comfortable than that. But, like, the one concern I did kind of have, and, you know, we've got Dance Central, Beat Saber, you know, Creed, Rise to Glory. We have some games that could get you kind of hot and sweaty. And when I think of foam and I think of sweat, I think, ah, man, you're going to need to have, like, a bunch of these things so you can swap them in and out.
Yeah, I think VR cover's gonna have to save the day on this one. I mean, same problem with the original Rift, like, versus any other headset. I feel like that's the worst in terms of, you know, building up sweat. I think Quest is really good. Quest seems more like a VR cover material. Like, Quest seemed more like a pleather or something. So with Quest, I think it'll be perfect. This though, yeah, it was. If I remember correctly, I mean, definitely foam on the face, which was very comfortable, but I could see getting a little bit gross. But also it was, you know, foam on the front and back pads as well.
You know, one benefit it does have, not too many people are talking about, is also the nose thing. There's a lot less light that leaks into this thing.
Yeah, I didn't have any. Like, it was so cool because I mean, I guess I'm used to it on the Vive when I pull out the Vive every once in a while to test my game that I'm working on here. But yeah, I think, you know, the removal of that and then the addition of Pass-Through Plus is perfect. Like, if they just got rid of the nose thing, I feel like some people would be like, oh, there's no way to see the real world, but now you get that too. So that's exciting.
So you did get a chance to try Stormland. I'm going to go ahead and throw the Stormland trailer on, and this was in the Rift S, I believe. Now, I don't know where you were at in Stormland when you tried the demo. The demo that I had, I think it was like kind of the very beginning of Stormland, and it starts off and it's like overcast and it's like dark and cloudy and stuff. And then you get further along and then you get out into the bright sunlight if you get far enough. But you only got 10 minutes, so you have to kind of get there quick if you're going to get to the sunlight. But my question for you is, I mean, LCD does have some downsides. The biggest downside is the blacks are not going to be inky black. And at the very beginning of Stormland, I felt like I did kind of notice that the blacks were a bit more gray. At the very beginning of Stormland. But then when I got into the sunlight area, it was like, whoa, this all looks really good. But what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I didn't really notice the blacks as much. You know, I think my Rift is broken a little bit, like how it has that one gray screen. Because if I had a pitch black Rift, I'd probably have more of like a thing to compare, more of a difference. I mean, you know, my Odyssey Plus like screen is totally pitch black and like the colors are insane on it. But something about this, man, the screen felt even better than the Odyssey Plus, which is crazy because it's the same resolution as Odyssey Plus, right? I don't
No,
know.
it's actually like Odyssey.
Less?
Yeah, it's less. It's the same resolution as the Oculus Go. It's
right,
the Oculus Go screen, basically.
Yeah, it's so weird because it's less resolution than Odyssey Plus or, you know, Vive Pro or anything, but just the lack of screen door effect, man, like that really does make a difference to me. So yeah, in the beginning of the game though, I noticed the blacks a little bit, but very quickly those would, you know, kind of get hidden away. And also, I felt like more immersed than I've felt in so long playing this game. Just something about maybe the game, or maybe just all the tiny little improvements of Rift S combined. Like, I seriously felt like I was in this world again, which hasn't happened for me for probably a few years, honestly. So
Well, the inverse kinematics, like it's funny because I was in the game and I'm looking at my robot arms. I'm sure you looked at your robot arms during certain
yeah.
parts of it. And I'm thinking like for a split second I was like, "Oh, no wonder it's Ready at Dawn." But no, this is Insomniac. It's not Ready at Dawn. And their inverse kinematics is absolutely spot on. Like like even like to the elbow and stuff, I didn't notice any weirdness with the inverse kinematics, really dialed in. And you're looking at your robot hand. And the one thing I'll say for the Rift S screen and for, basically the Go screen that's in there and RGB stripe and all of that, I'm putting my robot hand up to my face and like looking at the detail, and the detail was clean. It was very clean and very crisp.
Yeah, like it felt like there was so much more resolution than there actually is, which I think is a kind of a marvel of the engineering that they did on this. Because even though, on paper it's kind of mediocre, just the VR experience that it gave me was definitely like a big step up from the current Rift. I'd say, like, going back to the Rift, I was pretty sad, especially with just God rays, and like the lenses I think is by far the biggest improvement. Anyone who has a Rift now and doesn't have anything else doesn't know what they're missing with the lenses,
Now, why don't I ask you something about, like, from Oculus, their strategy here? Because I don't know if you saw, like, the Jason Rubin interview that Ben from Road to VR did, Ben Lang.
Yeah, watched all of that.
Okay.
That was interesting.
Because, yeah, it's interesting to think what, and then also maybe the tested video when Norman Chan was talking with Nate Mitchell. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So in all these different videos, we're kind of getting an idea of what Oculus is thinking about, like in terms of how they're positioning this, what their thoughts are. And it's pretty obvious to me that by going with the resolution of the Go screen, which is it's not at Vive Pro or Samsung level, it's below that. It's more than what we have with the Rift and the original Vive. It's a little bit higher than that, but not by, like, I honestly think the difference is so minuscule that I think people that notice a difference, I think what they're really noticing is RGB stripe, and they're noticing. Yeah, I don't think I don't know that it's perceptible. I think it's more placebo to notice a resolution bump, but one of the things that we've understood with this new system is, the drop to 80 hertz and then this very mild resolution bump. What it tells me is that Oculus is hyper focused on min spec and rec spec. They didn't want to change that, which I can understand that. My question for you, though, is that the right move? Should they maybe have bumped it a little bit more?
I think it's the right move for, not for enthusiasts. Like, the Rift S was pretty disappointing. I know I was disappointed the first day, but their strategy, it all just makes so much sense to me. Like, the more they talk about it, the more I'm like, yeah, like, if you can make a product that's the same price, maybe a little bit more, but it has this increased resolution a little bit. RGB stripe is a big deal, more comfortable, easier to get in and out. All these things just add up to me wanting to recommend Rift S to anybody getting into VR. Like, I don't want to recommend a Vive for $100 more. That's really the only competition in that price range currently, until obviously Valve Index and all that. We'll have to wait and see on that. But from that perspective, it's less than Vive still. It's better in every way, I'd say, pretty much. So I think it's a good strategy. Like, I know I was worried I'd have to start upgrading my computer soon, and I probably still should, to be honest. But it's nice to know you don't have to for that. And I have friends who have very min spec, like they have 1050 Ti's, and those are starting to get pretty down on the minimum spec there. My friend has a laptop. He carries his Rift everywhere. Like, that's a pain to set up, especially on a laptop. All the USB ports are taken up. Like, that's not ideal at all. So I think them changing min spec or rec spec, like, then he'd have to get a new laptop. Then he couldn't even, like, try this headset, I guess. So It makes sense to me. Like, I think they'll get a lot more people into VR with this, especially once people actually try it instead of judge it right away. Because I
Well,
know
the
I judged it right
tracking,
away.
like you tried the tracking. The tracking is flawless. Like tracking
Oh
is
yeah.
incredible. Like, I mean, because I see all these threads where everybody's like, no, I still want the regular tracking because I don't want to take any chances whatsoever. I don't want to. But to me, it's like, it's going to be so incredibly rare that you're going to notice any kind of difference that just roll with it. Like, one downer for me about the Valve Index is I think we are kind of moving to this like inside out future, but I
Yeah.
think Valve is like, I don't think you're going to get that on this headset because I mean Lighthouses 2.0, look, Lighthouses is a great idea. It really is. But after trying the Rift S in person, after trying the Oculus Quest in person, I'm a believer in inside out tracking. Now, some people like to play in the dark, and they want it to be pitch black. And like if you have a Rift S or a Quest, you need to have a little bit of light. There needs to be like, they kind of say if you have enough light to kind of like read a book or something, you're good. So that's a situation there. One other question I'll ask you though is regarding 80 hertz. Like, yeah, I didn't notice a difference either, but my question is, what about after extended play times though? Maybe a little bit more wear and tear on your like eye strain and that type of thing if you're playing at 80 hertz because like you get a 10-minute demo, yeah, it's great. But if you're playing 2 hours of Skyrim at 80 hertz, maybe you notice a slight change. I don't know.
I don't know, maybe. Like, even when I've been, wearing my Oculus Go for hours, I've been playing games that are 60 hertz on that thing, and I haven't had too many problems. Like, I'm lucky with my IPD, so I'm sure, when you get strain on the go, it's probably, due to your IPD. So I guess the doesn't seem to be as big of an issue for me as other people. I know on 72 hertz on the Quest, when I was playing Journey of the Gods, in the bright, that's a really bright game, and I noticed like the flickering on the edges of the panel, in the edges of my vision, which I do notice on the go as well, like much easily or more easy because it's 60 most of the time. So that's maybe more of an annoyance than I'm guessing like something that would make people sick or fatigued. I guess it's more of an annoyance. 80 hertz seems to be past that for me though, past that perception of noticing flicker, which for me was the worst part of the go. Yeah.
Okay, another question I have for you is, so I have Trover Saves the Universe. I got it running on the trailer here. And at GDC, I mean, I know you were hyper interested in Rift S, in Quest, Stormland, those kinds of things. That was your focus, I'm sure. Did you happen to walk by like the PlayStation stuff anywhere? Because I believe they were showing off quite a few different PlayStation VR games. Like I think they were demoing Trover, Ghost Giant, Jupiter and Mars, Falcon Age, Golem. Actually, you know what? I heard about Golem. There was like a controversy about Golem. Like they had a demo and they had to pull it off the floor. And like it seems like it's all bad about Golem.
Yeah, is that why it was? Because it was there, but I saw it early in the day, and then like I came back an hour or so later by the booth, and it was disconnected, and like the screen was black that was showing it. I guess that's not good.
Yeah, something weird. And I heard what happened is it was a demo thing for Golem, but they made it another demo station for Trover. So they like ended up having 2 Trover demo stations and Golem was gone. But like, how were the lines at these demos? Were pretty good lines or?
So that's a really weird thing about the Sony booth is I really wanted to try all this stuff. They had like a row of maybe 8 or 10 PSVR demos, which I thought was super cool. And it was, across from the Oculus booth. So you could always see that. But you had to like schedule your slot through the PlayStation Experience app, and I guess they were all full like by the time even the app came on. Like it pretty much instantly were gone. So there wasn't like an actual big line because it was all digital, like Comet 2, and you can play blank, I guess is how they ended up doing it, which was sad because I wanted to try some of those games out because there was a lot.
Yeah, you know what I was one thing that I came to understand when I was at GDC is that's how they did it at the PlayStation booth at GDC. They basically, you had to make an appointment for either Ghost Giant or Trover, and they were doing it every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it was like you got to make an appointment for like 3:45 or 4 or whatever, and you pick an appointment. Is it going to be Ghost Giant? Is it going to be Trover? I ended up trying Ghost Giant. I just happened to try that one because it had 2 moves, and Trover was with a DualShock. And I thought, well, let me go with the ones with moves and stuff. But but one of the things I did figure out, and I'm going to know this for future trade shows, and I should have probably told you this, is that one of the cool things about people that set up appointments is they flake. And so what you can do is you can go to the places where it's like, oh no, we have appointments booked for the whole day, right? And you could just say, okay, well, what's your next appointment? They'll be like, our next appointment is at 3:30, and just say, hey, can I wait around here? And if the person doesn't show up, you can pop me in, because I'm telling you, that is a magical way to get a lot of possible demos that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine. Like I would have probably done that or thought to do that because there wasn't, there's a few people standing by. It seemed like, but I was basically at Oculus. I really should have said I was on VR Roundtable sooner because I could have saved 3.5 hours.
Yeah. We're gonna have we're doing some T-shirts, for VR Roundtable. So if you had your VR Roundtable T-shirt, that would have been a bonus too, right?
Oh yeah. I was trying to get that shipped before, but it wouldn't have came in time. Yeah.
Just walking around GDC in general, was there other weird stuff like when and did I say GDC again? I keep saying GDC, huh? Okay, walking around PAX East in general and just looking at miscellaneous things that are going on all over the place. Did they have weird stuff like tactical haptics or any of these other weird things like accessories and weird things like that at all?
I was really sad because I went to PAX East a couple years ago. I mean, I tried DevKit 2 at PAX East a long time ago, and then I also tried the Crescent Bay prototype at PAX East. Both of those years, there was a big hamster ball that you could try to locomote in, and then there was, I think, an omnidirectional treadmill thing there too. So there was all these peripherals there. This time, really there's no other VR company except Oculus there. And obviously the PSVR stuff. And then there was some indies which were showing games using probably regular Rifts, and I think there's a Vive or so, but those weren't official things or anything. The only thing was there was a extreme gaming booth for some company, and they had 2 Rifts set up on car motion simulators. So I got to try that with my friend. It was Project Cars 2 on a motion simulator chair with the wheel and everything, but that sucked a lot. It was unfortunate. They didn't have positional tracking, and also the Rifts were drifted off by 20 or 30 degrees, so my head was tilted to the right, and it was just a mess. I couldn't believe that they didn't recenter the Rifts every few times or something. That's literally the only thing peripheral wise that was there.
Did you see individual booths for individual developers? Did you talk to anybody? Were you trying to rub elbows with anybody? Maybe future career moves you might be able to make? Anything like that?
I think a little bit. The only developer probably worth noting I talked to is I went over to the Cloud Sync booth, and they had this really weird game where it's you're a dog and it's 2-player and the dogs are connected, so you're both a dog head and you have to work together to solve puzzles. It's not in VR or anything like that. I forgot that Cloud Sync did all this stuff. They're the people who made They Suspect Nothing on the Go, and they're the ones who are making, what is it, Shadow Point VR for Quest and all that. So yeah, I just happened to talk to them, and I was like, yeah, I came here to mostly do VR stuff, and they're like, oh, we're a first party developer for Oculus. I'm like, what? So that was pretty neat. I just talked to them about how was it developing for Quest and stuff, and I kind of got the illusion that it's been kind of really working with Oculus on stuff, because they'd be like, oh, the Quest doesn't have this feature, we need this feature for our game, Oculus, come on. It's probably why there weren't more widespread dev kits, because it's kind of still a work in progress with like battery and all this stuff. But yeah, he was saying how he's not sure if their game is the launch title or not. That's kind of on Oculus to determine. It sounds like Oculus is really heading the release schedule of all the games on their store and trying to make it as curated as possible. So interesting little tidbits there, I guess.
Yeah, you know what's interesting on the on the Oculus Quest front is like, as somebody that is like trying to cover this stuff kind of a bit, you know, with VR game rankings and stuff, because like we have a ranking of like upcoming Oculus Quest games. We have a top 60 most wanted Oculus Quest games, and I've been working on that. And ideally, I want to have like the individual trailers for all the specific Oculus Quest games, but like actual Quest trailers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also want, the other thing I'd love to have is like if Oculus had store pages on Oculus. You know how they have like experiences for Rift and Go, and then they have all these different pages, and you know, you have a store page and it has information about the developer, and it kind of tells about the game, and it has some pictures and stuff. They don't have that for Quest yet. Like they don't have store pages for Robo Recall and for Shadow Point and Journey of the Gods and Vader Immortal and all that. But here we are, you know, it's going to be April tomorrow. Ah, man, I keep thinking about that because I got to do a Games of April breakdown. But it's going to be April tomorrow, right? And we're getting closer and closer to what we believe is going to be the launch of the Oculus Quest. When do you think we're going to get maybe an info dump from a standpoint of like a Vader Immortal trailer, you know, some of these different games, like a Rec Room trailer that is the Quest Rec Room version, or an Apex Construct trailer that is actually Quest, and like these store pages? When do you think that might happen?
You'd hope it happened in the month of April. That's, I guess, what I'm thinking will happen, because I know like when all the hype was going on about Quest and everything, like someone was like, hey, if you go to oculus.com/quest/experiences, like it doesn't 404, it's just kind of, it's different. It's like a page ready to go live to like show more of this information, but it's not up yet, which kind of indicates to me that it could be soon. Like hopefully sooner rather than later, they'll get more specifics on this stuff. So I'm hoping April, like, you know, hopefully Quest Countdown will actually start counting down to a launch date one of these days.
Yeah, they do.
It's so weird without a launch date, you know?
Yeah, Quest Countdown. Countdown to what? You know, what about, do you think there's going to be pre-orders?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be like Go. But then again, if it is like Go, that's going to be super weird, because I have friends who've been waiting for this thing for months, and like, oh, are they just going to find out it came out and like, oops, it's sold out at Best Buy now, can't get it? Like, that would suck for all these people who've been waiting so long for it.
Gaming science teacher in our chat says, well, there is a confirmed Vader Immortal sneak peek on April 12th, you know, at the big Star Wars thing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe after that, like, actually, that's good. That's a good point there, because I think on April 12th, maybe we'll get that Vader Immortal trailer, you know, that kind of gives us an idea of what the hell Vader Immortal actually is. One worry I do kind of have, though, in regards to a lot of these Quest games is like Vader Immortal and Journey of the Gods and, you know, some of these other games that we're seeing. I'm worried they're going to be really short.
That is a good worry. Yeah, like, Journey of the Gods feels like it's going to be a short game just in playing it. Like, I was like, it doesn't feel like there's much here that you could, you know, play for hours and hours. I think Vader Immortal is probably even worse. Like, that's probably like something they can slap on a box and get a bunch of sales, but it's, you know, maybe an hour or something, I'd guess. Like, there's no way they're going to make a 20-hour Vader game. That'd be awesome, but that's probably not happening.
Yeah, the good news is that I don't finish a lot of games, so maybe I'll actually finish some of them. You know, that is the
Same
good news.
Same with me.
Yeah. Okay, well, one thing we can talk about real quick is just, a lot of people, I mean, I'm about to get out of here because I do need to get some food and you probably have some
Yeah.
stuff you got to do too. But really quick, right before we go, just some last minute thoughts about like Valve Index. And I mean, we talked about this quite a bit already on VR Roundtable, but a lot of people in chat like don't really care about the Quest or the Rift S. It's all Valve Index all the time. What do you think is going to be like if you were to look into your crystal ball and try to think about how we're going to get more information about Valve Index? Where do we go from here? Because we've basically got this initial teaser. That's all we have. And where is it going to go from this initial teaser?
Yeah, I'd assume sometime in April we'd get an info dump on like the specs of it and everything, and hopefully an announcement of a Valve game and Knuckles. Like, I feel like I shouldn't be saying this stuff because like it hasn't happened for years, and we've been wanting all this stuff for years, but it feels like it's finally gonna actually happen next month, maybe. That's what I would say. Like, I'm still excited for Rift S though, just because I want to play all these new Oculus exclusives on like the best thing I can, like the touch controllers I think are still fantastic. Even people who try Knuckles say, Knuckles are good, but sometimes a little janky, and the touch controllers just have that ergonomic advantage to them versus the Knuckles, which are kind of huge. So I guess both is ideal to have both, but
Yeah, you know what? So yesterday, I think this was on yesterday's show. They're all blending together to me now, but I did a little thing where I was talking about what are the Rift S advantages over Index, just kind of as like an interesting way to think about it. And so I have this popped on the screen. It's probably going to show up for you there in a couple of seconds. But like the number one advantage for me, like just thinking about Rift S and thinking about Valve Index, the number one advantage is Revive, not having to use Revive. Because I do remember when I was trying to play the Mage's Tale and like just different stuff that I was trying to play that was on the Oculus Store, and I had a HTC Vive, I had no Rift whatsoever, I had Vive wands, and it was just clumsy as could be. The games worked, they did work, but like the controllers weren't right, the buttons weren't right. It was irritating. And so I kind of think Revive, like I'm keeping my regular Oculus Rift. It isn't going anywhere. It is staying right here. It is staying happily inside my family. And I'm keeping it for Stormland. I'm keeping it for Asgard's Wrath. I'm keeping it for all these exclusives. How big of a deal do you think Revive is? Like if you got an Index, are you going to enjoy the experience?
yeah, I don't think I would want to play any of these, exclusives on anything other than Rift or Rift S, just due to that point. Like Revive is super clunky, and even though I think it's gotten better, like I tried Revive on the Odyssey, and like some of the control bindings are just flat out wrong, like without tweaking for hours probably, and then I'm down a rabbit hole of trying to figure this thing out. Like on the Odyssey, the grip button is the thumbstick only going left, so to grab things I had to like move the thumbstick on the Odyssey controller to the left. It was just bizarre. So that native compatibility is really nice, and I'd assume if there's a Valve game, it'll natively support touch too, because they want the broadest market for their titles, and Steam VR seems to work with everything too. So I think Oculus has that advantage of it'll work on Oculus Home, but also it'll probably have native support in Steam VR and whatever Valve does too, because they just want that. So it's more, I guess, accessible. Like it's less clunky. Yeah.
Gerillo in chat says, Anthony had a bad experience with Mage's Tale, but Revive has been flawless for me. I get to play your Rift exclusives wirelessly at 3K res. LOL. Anthony is over-exaggerating the problem with Revive. And you know what? To be completely fair, it's been so long since I've ever used Revive, and I'm sure there's been improvements. But like Wilson's Heart, like I remember that as well. Like Robo Recall, I remember the very first time I played Robo Recall on an Oculus Rift with Oculus touch controllers, I felt like I was let out of jail. Like I felt like when I was playing Robo Recall prior to that, like one hand was being, held behind my back and I'm playing basically one-handed. And then when I got the actual Oculus Rift with the Oculus Touch, it was like, hallelujah, now I can actually play. But Jarillo's saying I'm making a bigger deal out of this. I don't know. I mean, it remains to be seen. Another thing we can consider too, though, is Oculus is part of like this open XR thing, right? Or whatever. Like,
Right, yeah.
So eventually maybe all our headsets can just work with each other. I mean, what a beautiful world that would be.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, I know, even the Knuckles controllers will be a big step up over the Vive ones. Like anything is better than that. Just to even have controller parity in terms of the amount of buttons, like that's what made Revive the worst for me, is like there's just not enough buttons there to play any of these games without like dedicating halves of a touchpad, and that just gets stupid. So I think like even when Knuckles comes out, that'll be a step in the right direction, because hopefully Revive would utilize that and make that a little bit better. Same with like the Vive Cosmos. That thing looks like identical to the touch controllers, maybe even a few more buttons. So that will be good as well. But there's something about touch controllers, man. They're so good.
The new touch controllers though, I feel like they're just a teeny bit smaller. Do you think they're just a teeny bit smaller compared to what we're holding?
Yeah. Oh, they're smaller, definitely. I guess my hands are kind of large, but I didn't mind it too much. It felt more ergonomic to me. I guess you kind of lose something, because I liked how I could like put my controllers together and like have my thumbs touch in real life. I can't do that anymore, but now I can do the opposite of like having the rest of my arms like fist bump or whatever, because the tracking ring is flipped. I know, yeah, that's the biggest weird thing for me, is not having that thumb pad, because no one talks about that the thumb pad's gone. Was I the only person who used that? Did you ever use your thumb pad on your touch?
Hold on, I'm gonna grab my touch controller real fast.
Yeah. It's like for me, like I would rest on the thumb pad, and it was like the natural place. And on these new touch controllers, I'm like, where do I put my thumb? Like it just felt awkward to put them over the buttons, but I'm sure I'll get used to it.
Well, I put my thumb right on the thumbstick, basically.
Really?
Yeah. You mean you set it right there, like you set it to the side of it?
Yeah, like that like pad that's textured differently, like that's a capacitive thing. Like,
oh, okay. So you just leave your thumb there mostly. I always leave it right on the thumbstick mostly.
Yeah, that's funny. I guess just different people, because I know my friend who went with me, like purely uses that resting thing, and he's like made game prototypes where that's like a third button in a way, because it really is like it's like a third thing you can press, like put your thumb on it, it does something. But that's gone, but it's fine. I'll get used to it.
The thing is, like, so I'm holding my Oculus Touch controller, right? And it just, I don't know, like, it just really melts in, like, my hand just kind of, like, morphs with it. And it's just, and like, a lot of people will talk about the new touch controllers, and they basically say, well, all Oculus did was they chopped this thing off, they chopped this thing off. You still have basically the same thing, and then they put the ring around here, and it's basically the same thing. But there's something about when I was holding it, I mean, they still feel good. They feel great. But I don't feel like they quite melt into my hands in the same way that the touch is just like, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm going to need to have the new controller and kind of hold, like when I get my Quest, I'll be able to compare them more side by side.
Right. Yeah. I think the grip button was the biggest like difference in terms of input for me. Like a grip button feels like it's like half the size and more like a button rather than just kind of feeling like you can squeeze your fingers and it grabs things. Did you notice that? Like the grip button felt tinier? Maybe.
I didn't know. Like, yeah, I mean, there's so many things that, like, it's hard. You go into these demos, you're thinking of a million things. Like, it's so, like, people are like, how are the black levels? How are this? How are that? Like, you're in a 10-minute demo, you're looking at freaking Stormland. You're not thinking of all of it.
Oh man, Stormland's so good.
Yeah, incredible. I need to do a special show. This is a completely different topic, and we're almost out of here. I'm going to let you go, Chris. But just the last thing I wanted to talk about real quick is I need to do a special show that is PlayStation VR versus the Oculus Quest. Okay? And
Yeah.
hear me out really quick here, because see, the thing is, I think this is a much closer comparison than anybody could possibly imagine. The Oculus Quest versus PlayStation VR. Now, PlayStation VR will have an advantage graphically, but that's it. That
That's
maybe
true.
maybe comfort, a slight advantage on comfort. But see, here's the thing. PlayStation VR, these goofy ass Move controllers that are kind of garbage, right? The
Yeah.
tracking of PlayStation VR, kind of garbage, right? And
Totally.
Oculus Quest, the Quest's tracking kills PlayStation VR. The Quest controllers kill PlayStation VR. Completely wireless kills the friction of PlayStation VR. The only advantage PlayStation VR it has two advantages. It has the advantages of graphics being better, but not by a giant margin, but they are better, especially if we're just comparing OG PS4 versus Quest. And then the other advantage is all the Sony exclusives. But other than that, doesn't Quest kind of kill it in every other department?
Oh, I think so, because setting up PSVR is such a pain. Like, that was awful. You have to plug in a million things, like take up the USB ports on the back and the front, and like pass through your HDMI. It's like the least portable thing there is, I'd say. Like, I'd probably rather take my desktop and plug in a Rift S or something, or an Odyssey currently, I guess, than to bring that thing around. Yeah, you make a good point there. Like, in-sight tracking is far superior, and that's like a big annoyance with PSVR, definitely. Like, hopefully the Oculus exclusives will even cancel out that, if there's some really good Oculus exclusives for Quest. Like, that's interesting. I never thought about
but
that.
Sony, they are doing a damn good job. They are doing such a good job with like Blood and Truth. I mean, all these different games they've got coming. That is a huge advantage for them. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the Quest and PSVR, I think they're a much closer comparison than most people believe. Like, I don't think people are thinking about that, but I think in a couple of more months, like, I think once the Quest is out and it's been out for a while, and then somebody that has a PlayStation VR and they all of a sudden get a Quest and they start using a Quest for a couple of months, I think it's going to start to dawn on people that, holy shit, the Quest actually is a PlayStation VR killer in certain ways. You don't need a PS4. You don't need a PS4 Pro. It comes in a single box. It's a console kind of a thing. The downside is better graphics on PSVR, and then like Blood and Truth, Astrobot, all that type of stuff.
Right. That's insane. I didn't think about that. Like, for me, Quest I've been thinking of it as like compared to, I don't know. It was kind of in a league of its own, but you're right that price point that Quest is at really puts it in line with the PSVR. And like, I think if someone is using a Quest for a week or two, they're probably not going to touch their PSVR for a long time. Like, that's kind of how I felt with Go initially. Like, I didn't touch my Rift for a while, but I think Quest will make me be like, man, I don't even want to touch my Rift that much at all. Like, I don't even think I'll use my Rift too much anymore, to be honest. Like, I'll be traveling with my Quest, being on campus already, not having to go home, just being like, I want to play a game. I'm just set up Guardian in the hallway. Like, it's so easy,
Yeah, absolutely. And just showing other people all that kinds of we're going to need to have a few months. Like, it's going to take a while. Like, we need a few months with this stuff to see how it's really going to affect us, and affect our habits. But Chris, man, dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on this show today. Truly appreciate it. We'll have to do this some more different times as well. But thank you so much. Got your thoughts on PAX and, trying Rift S and Quest and Dance Central and all these different things that we just talked about on today's episode. Awesome, man. Usually these Sunday shows are kind of throwaway, but this was like a cool show. So thanks so much.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and hang up on you, Chris, but thanks so much, and I'll definitely hit you up on Reddit and everything else as well, and so I'll see you soon. Thanks so much.
Have a good one, everyone.
Okay, take it easy, bro. All right. Well, that was Chris checking in. That was awesome. Definitely a bonus right there to talk to Chris. We got to talk about all of his PAX East experiences and kind of chew some fat on some of these different topics. So that was super cool. I really like that. Okay, so basically we're done with today's episode. I'm going to go ahead and get my little outro logo on the screen here. And now I want to talk quickly about scheduling for this week, upcoming shows of VR 365. So my plan of attack at this point in time is Monday and Tuesday, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Pacific time, Monday and Tuesday. That's my plan. And then let's switch back over to our regular window here. So Monday and Tuesday, 4 p.m., and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 2 p.m. So that's the plan for now. But it's subject to change. Absolutely. 15 minutes this direction, 15 minutes that direction, or who knows, anything can possibly happen. But what you could do if you want, you could follow me on Twitter or at VR Game Rankings on Twitter, or join our Discord. Like, jump onto our Discord, because what I'll try to do is I try to do announcements on the Discord. If it's like, oh, I'm going to be doing the show at 3 p.m. instead of 4 or whatever, I'll usually try to announce that on the Discord. I usually try to tweet that out if I have an opportunity. So you can follow me either on Twitter or on Discord, and you can keep up with when we're going to be doing these shows. But the plan is 4 p.m. Pacific, Monday, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Pacific, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But that's going to go ahead and do it. It's been a busy week. Oh my goodness, has this been crazy? But I love it. I absolutely love it. This is catnip, absolute catnip for somebody like me. I live for this type of stuff. Just think how boring it's going to be in a couple of weeks when everything returns to normal. It's going to be so freaking boring. I'm going to be like grasping at straws for like weird little games on Steam to try to make an interesting show. You know, it's going to be so much harder. Right now, it's just like beautiful, absolutely wonderful, all this stuff that we got. All right, well, everybody have a wonderful weekend. I will be back tomorrow. That's why they call it VR 365, because it's VR gaming news and discussion 365 days a year. So I will be back tomorrow. Once again, go ahead and tickle the like button or smash the living daylights out of it. Go ahead and subscribe to this show. Click on the bell thing as well. Also, I do have a Patreon. I also have a PayPal donate button, and you can find both of those down below in the show notes. You can click on my Patreon or PayPal. I gladly accept a $1 donation, $2 donation. I can tell you this, every little dollar that I get, it is going into my index fund. Yes, it's going into the index fund. I've got my Quest money set aside. I've got about $500. I'm going to throw that at the Quest. So I'm good there. But index, I'm hurting, bro. I'm hurting on the index. Also, I'm hurting on a 2080 Ti or what, I don't know what the resolution of this index is going to be. Might need a video card as well. So if anybody got a few bucks to throw my way, go ahead and throw them, because they will go to a very good cause. It's not going to hookers and blow. I promise you. It's not going to hookers and blow. It's going to index and graphics cards, index and teraflops. That's where it's going. But I got to bounce out of here. I got to eat some damn lunch. It's 1:28 p.m. and I'm starving. So I will see everybody tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Take it easy. Have a wonderful day and play some VR. All right, I'm out of here. Take it easy. Later.